Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to another Star Wars video, and today we'll be talking about The Mandalorian with full spoilers for Season 2. And this is admittedly a bit of a rambling video, because I just wanted to address some major criticisms that I've heard levied against The Mandalorian, in particular Season 2, which I will admit was not without fault. I thought it was a great improvement over Season 1, which I already loved, but you know, no show is infallible. For example, I would say that it sometimes felt like the heroes weren't in any real danger. I think that the show could have done a better job to sort of raise the stakes, but that's not what the criticism I'll be talking about today is about. Instead, I'll be focusing on the topic of fan service, and fan service is basically the idea that something is added in a movie or television show simply to please the fans of the show, especially the hardcore fans, usually to the detriment or at least ignoring the overall storytelling and plot. Fan service is usually used as an insult because it implies basically cheapness and laziness on behalf of the creator of a piece of media. Basically, they're making fans happy simply by referencing something from the past rather than actually putting in the work to make a good story. What I would consider to be a good example of fan service and something that I am pretty critical of would be the scene in Rogue One where the crew runs into Pondo Baba and Dr. Evazan, because in that situation, those characters have no real reason to be on the planet, and it's clear that they're just included as a referential nod to A New Hope. So anyway, the criticism of fan service has obviously been levied against The Mandalorian, chiefly because of its reintroduction of so many characters from past Star Wars works. And this is something that happened a lot more frequently in Season 2. We had the inclusion of Boba Fett, Bo-Katan, Ahsoka Tano, and, spoiler alert, in the most recent episode, Luke Skywalker. However, I'm here today to defend The Mandalorian from that, and there's a couple of reasons why. First of all, The Mandalorian as a show has been well established up to the point of Season 2. The Mandalorian earned its success through phenomenal characters and new and original stories, at least among fans of the show. Now, if you don't like The Mandalorian, yeah, maybe you'll disagree with that, but Season 1, although it had referential moments, we returned to Tatooine, for example, it never really overly leaned on stuff from the past. The story that Season 1 told was completely new. The characters were new. We've never had a sort of father-son relationship like this in Star Wars, a positive relationship. I enjoyed that new dynamic, and returning to the Western feel of A New Hope, especially, was very welcome, but also a clear departure from what Star Wars has been making recently and what has found success recently. But I know what you might be thinking, well, couldn't you say the same thing about Rogue One? That moment with Pondo Baba, that's just a small part of a movie which also has original characters. And yeah, I agree, and I would never say that Rogue One is overshadowed by fan service. I think there are a couple of moments there that I'm not a huge fan of, primarily that one really, but it doesn't really bother me, and I don't think that's a reasonable criticism to levy against the entire movie. But yeah, that moment is fan service, which takes me to my second point. I would say, with maybe one exception, all of the introduction of canon characters into The Mandalorian has been done in a way that makes sense within the universe. Let's talk about the big character, Luke. And I think a lot of people weren't expecting Luke Skywalker to appear in this show because Star Wars has just, for a long time, not had this sort of interconnected storytelling. At least when it comes to big productions like television shows and movies. Like The Clone Wars really didn't reference the expanded universe very much. Before The Mandalorian Season 1, we didn't even see expanded universe books messing with the big three characters outside of some minor adventures in Aftermath and Bloodline. It's just almost unbelievable that Luke Skywalker of all characters would be brought back to The Mandalorian, but if you examine it within universe, it makes sense. We know that Grogu called out to a Jedi. Luke Skywalker is not only the most well-loved Jedi among Star Wars fans and the star of the original trilogy, but right now in the galaxy, he is the most mobile Jedi, he's the most prominent Jedi, and he's trying to re-establish the Jedi Order. If outside of any sort of production issues or whatever else I were just to choose which Jedi in universe would be most likely to hear Grogu's call and be interested in responding, I would choose Luke. I mean, the other options that were being discussed were like Cal Kestis, we don't even know if he's still alive right now, Mace Windu, which I would have really disliked and considered fan service and nonsensical, and Ezra, who is still as of now missing and somewhere somewhere we don't know. The thing is too, this calling in a Jedi, although it did operate somewhat as a Deus Ex Machina at the end of the finale, wasn't just a plot line that was inserted into this season to bring Luke. This has basically been the purpose of the Mandalorian since he encountered Grogu and kind of set up his mission to reunite him with the Jedi. So this wasn't an example of the Mandalorian team getting lazy and wanting to bring Luke in because they knew it would be impactful for fans. This is what I think to be the natural conclusion of an arc that was well established in season 1, in which the entire show has really been based around up until this point. When it comes to other characters, I think Ahsoka was also a logical inclusion. She was a further stepping stone on the Mandalorian's journey to Luke, and I think the same can be said of Bo-Katan and the Night Owls. Now, the one issue that I think you could maybe argue is that Boba Fett's inclusion starts to approach the limits of fan service or becomes fan service, but again, to me, it's all about execution. We are at the point in the show where we do have a lot of named characters coming together, but even with Boba Fett, I never felt like it was in a way that just didn't make sense. I don't think it's cheap, and I don't think it's done solely for cheap fan reaction. I think it's done because that's an interesting way to tell a story. Overall, though, when it comes to the last episode especially, I don't think that a complaint against fan service can fairly be levied against the show. I will say one of the other issues of season 2 that I will acknowledge, however, was that it did spend a lot of time setting up sort of other shows. Like, we now have the Ahsoka show and Rangers of the New Republic, and also the Book of Boba Fett, which I believe will be a distinct show. But again, for me personally, I didn't feel like the reintroduction of those characters took away from the story of The Mandalorian Season 2 itself. And again, the main distinction for me is that I always felt the inclusion of those characters was logical within the universe, it was properly set up beforehand, and I think that generally Star Wars should strive to be an interconnected storytelling medium. Now, hopefully Season 3 of The Mandalorian goes a slightly different route. I would like to see some of these characters reintroduced. We know that Ahsoka and The Mandalorian and the Rangers of the New Republic shows are going to come together for some sort of major event. I think that's really cool and a good illustration of connected storytelling. But I also think we do have to be cognizant of The Mandalorian not being overwhelmed by outside connections. My opinion is just that we didn't get there yet in season 2. Anyway, that's all for me, guys. I would love to hear what you think about this topic. Am I right? Am I wrong? Let me know down in the comment section. I will read a bunch of them after this video goes live. Until next time, though, have a good one, be safe, and may the Force be with you.